cards in those boxes now, is it?" Ronald Merchant Jones did as he was told, and became unwittingly embroiled in one of the biggest unsolved safe depository heists in British history. "I was tied to my chair, gagged, and had a black drawstring bag placed over my head," he later told the investigating police officers. "I heard the voices of 3 men, one gruff-sounding, another had a Welsh accent, and the third one had a clipped vocal mannerism that reminded me of Michael Caine." "You say the only one you actually saw was the woman?" the police inspector had said. "Can you describe her?" So Ronald did his best to convey the shimmering brown hair, then added that it could have been dyed, or even an expensive wig. He seemed to recall blue eyes, but then, on the day, he had thought they were brown. "Any distinguishing marks?" Ronald made an attempt to picture her face, but its bland beauty sidestepped him. Perfection, he later mused, combined with all the outward trappings of wealth and class, had managed to disguise the real woman beneath as efficiently as any grotesque mask could have done. On his first day in his new home on the French Riviera, some flowers arrived for Ronald, accompanied by a card marked merely with a lipstick kiss, the initial C, and the hint of a perfume that he recognized only too well. He recalled sitting, trussed up and terrified, hooded and disorientated, before feeling the warmth of her face so close to his as she whispered in his ear, "Be careful how you describe me, my dear. Your cut-glass accent and double-barreled moniker don't fool me one bit. I know who you are, where you live, and where you come from." Her laugh tinkled at his quick intake of breath, and she put her hand on his shoulder as though to reassure him. "But you're not a bad actor," she continued. "So, if you tell a believable tale to the cops, or anyone else who makes inquiries, then I promise you will be well looked after." With the memory of her buzzing around in his head, Ronald picked up the card, held it to his nose, and breathed in her essence. Then he stepped out onto his balcony, looked across at the sunlit Mediterranean Sea glistening close by, and raised his glass of vino in silent salute. Paris, December 1991. She was in the Boulevard Saint-Germain when she stopped at a news kiosk beneath a tree that still dripped with rain from a recent downpour. She loved these ornate newsstands with their plethora of colourful magazines and newspapers. It felt good to be in Paris and to maybe settle for a while. Her mood was not to be deflated, not even by the grumpy man behind the counter with the Gauloise apparently glued to his lower lip, since the cigarette smelled as quintessentially French as the Art Nouveau metro facade that mirrored the metalwork of the kiosk itself. She was after Paris Match to help improve her French, when she noticed a newspaper headline about a horrific murder in the south of France. Although she struggled with some of the terminology, she certainly got the gist. Police thought it was a burglary gone wrong. The owner of the apartment had been stripped naked, tied to a chair, gagged, burned with cigarettes, and had a finger cut off before being killed. The perpetrators had then ransacked the victim's home. "Are you feeling ill, madame?" the cantankerous kiosk proprietor asked. She leaned against the tree in that Paris street and took a deep breath. Dreadful though the story was, it was the name of the victim that had jumped off the page. Ronald Merchant Jones. She also knew who had done the deed. She regained her composure, paid for the newspaper, and walked back to her rented apartment to pack. It was time to move on. She had to stay lost. Chapter 2. Western Australia, July 2012. A single clap of thunder almost masked the sound of the first shot. Ma, though, highly strung as ever, sensed something was up. She moved towards the window and peered out from amongst the display of handmade local goods, artisan soaps, and those Aboriginal knickknacks.